Sierra Leone is last of 10, facing a lot of traffic to deal with onto the far turn. Boot to Cachet has made the top clear, leads at a length against the rail. Diddy a second by ahead. Keeland, Her Greatness, the leader. Keeland, Her Greatness leads at a length and a half as they go to the far turn, oversubscribed. His second and a half length. She feels pretty, third to the inside, pounces a wide fourth to the turn. War Campaign draws within a half length of the lead. Now matching strides, Kings Barnes moves up behind him on the outside. Epic Ride swings wide, just a touch between horses. Doorknock has to shift lanes along with Sierra Leone. Boot to Cachet still has the lead. Didia, English Rose toward the inside. She feels pretty, has the lead in the final furlong. Kings Barnes in front. Final furlong of the Ben Ally Stakes. Boot to Cachet, 25-1 upset under Frankie Dettori. Sierra Leone comes forward for the lead in deep stretch and wins the Toyota Bluegrass. She feels pretty, a dominating performance.
And welcome in, everyone, to the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast. Jeremy Plonk from Horse Player now set to take a look at the fifth day of the spring meet, our fifth consecutive nights of 8 crazy nights here on the podcast. We're with you each and every night before the next day's racing. If you're new to the program, welcome in. If you've been with us throughout the course of the week, hope you're doing well and cashing some tickets. And we'll look to run it up here on the Thursday card. April 10th, we've got 9 races slated. We'll handicap each of them during the course of the next 35, 40 minutes or so. Did you get your fill of long shots today? Because that's really the question mark at Keeland. How about a 54-1 winner, a 24-1 winner, and a 46-1 winner to wrap things up in the nightcap that sent us into a little bit of a carryover frenzy because that carried the pick six. There were only 3 combinations going into the last race that would carry the pick six. The big one got home, the 12 on the outside with the final victory. This summer in Adrian was an upset winner, and at 46-1 in the finale, sent us into a pick six carryover of almost $46,000, $45,904 in the pick six carryover going into the Thursday card. That same race, we had a carryover going into the Toyota Super High Five. Nobody solved it with a $90+ horse on top. $88,162 into the high five carryover as we get set for this Thursday card. Big prices. That was the story of the day, no question about it. As far as where the horses won today and where they prepped coming into today's races, the Gulfstream horses continue to have a pretty good meet. 3 winners from Gulfstream today, 3 also from Turfway, single winners from Fairgrounds and Santa Anita. So the 8 races today spread out decently, but the Gulfstream horses are doing well at the beginning of the meet. That's normal. That's not abnormal. We see this at the beginning of the meet. The Gulfstream horses tend to be very good at the beginning when you think about the opening weekend races. And this year, of course, it wasn't an opening weekend. It was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But they lean heavily towards the stakes, allowance, and maiden special weight races, to which we expect the Gulfstream horses to have a strong hand to play. As the meet progresses, we get a little more blue collar. We're going to see a lot more of the Kentucky connections and the Midwest connections have a lot of success here at Keeneland. So those numbers will start to balance out. But for right now, you have to say the Gulfstream horses have done pretty well. And of course, they ran 1-2 in the Toyota Bluegrass. So when you're looking to try to figure out your pecking order and your rankings amongst your Kentucky Derby contenders, the Floridians certainly showed out with the 1-2 finish, Burnham Square, and then River Thames running 1-2 in the Bluegrass Stakes. So good effort from those. They certainly would flatter the form of Sovereignty and Tappan Street and the horses that you saw down in Florida this winter if you're handicapping towards the Kentucky Derby. Why not? I think we're 24, 25 days away now from the Run for the Roses. So it is getting close. One more prep race left on the trail for the Triple Crown. To this point, we've got just the Lexington Stakes on Saturday. I'm starting to get into the handicapping a little bit here this evening. I'll spend some time after the podcast actually looking more at the Saturday card and tomorrow morning. But the Lexington Stakes, we've got a couple horses that have already run out of there that were double entered and such. So we'll see what the cards got for us. We also have the Jenny Wiley coming up on Saturday. That should be a good one. Before we get to Saturday, of course, we got all this carryover action on Thursday. Friday's cards got a big one. You know, we've got the Maker's Mark Mile, 7-figure turf mile race, and looking forward to seeing that one as the Friday feature. Okay, let's talk about this upcoming card on Thursday. You know, you kind of get to this, okay, we're on our 5th night in a row, and you're like, what are we going to talk about? And then all of a sudden these carryovers pop up, so we've got exciting stuff here going on going into the Thursday card. Here's the way it lines up: a 9-race program at Keeneland for the Thursday program. Your snapshot of the card lines up this way. The pick 5 starts in race number 1, as always. The early pick 4 in race number 2. We've got key plays for you on the card on races 3, 5, and 8. The $45,000 carryover in the pick 6, that's going to begin in race number 4. We'll hit the late pick 5 in race number 5, which means we have one swing race today. Race number 5, it's part of the early pick 5, it's part of the late pick 5, and it's part of the early pick 4. 3 sequences run through race number 5. That's kind of why we had such bonkers payoffs today, because 24-1 shot won the swing race in race number 5 on that 8-race card today. That sent all the multi-race payoffs into just complete chaos in what they were paying out. So we'll finish up with the late pick 4, races 6 through 9, and then a carryover in the Toyota Super High 5, race number 9, as we mentioned, that $88,000. No stakes on the schedule for Thursday. We mentioned those big pick payoffs in the pick 5 because of the winner in the 5th race being such a big price. The early pick 5 today on Wednesday returned $34,000. The late pick 5, which started with that upset winner, $50 winner, paid $57,000 on the way out. So 2 pick 5s, they paid about $91,000 between the 2 of them today. Let's see if we can't get some of that action. 2 winners on the handicapping front today for me. A lot of second place finishes. Had a big play in the last race. The horse kind of didn't want to come through the inside. Ran okay at 6-1, but ended up kind of a little bit better than mid-pack, maybe 4th, 5th. Not the kind of effort we wanted. We scratched out of 4 top choices. So the advanced handicapping last night into today was rough. An 8-race card, you lose 4 of your top choices, 2 of the 3 key plays. I really had all my eggs in the basket for the last race. Horse made a nice little run up the inside in Ngannou for Brendan Walsh, but then just didn't quite finish with anything. Didn't want to come through the inside, perhaps, but didn't do enough running, and all the horses closing on the outside, including that big winner, Summer and Adrienne, at the big price. Ended up getting the last laugh. But we'll get the last laugh on this Thursday card. Let's get to handicapping. Here are the picks from the Handicapper Selectors box at Keeneland.com as we take a look at the various races throughout the day and the various handicapper selections to kind of get a sense where the strong opinions might be. Are handicappers spread out on races, or are we all kind of focused in on the same few runners? Let's go now to the first of our baby races here for Thursday's card. We've got a race number 1, 4.5 furlong dash here. This is Wesley Ward territory. We know that. 2 of them run this meet so far. Wesley did get 1 victory of the 2. He lost the first one. He won the second one really convincingly. And Ward, of course, last year won 6 of the 9 baby races. He's won over half of them that have been offered since we've gone back to dirt at Keeland. Start your handicapping with Wesley Ward. He's got 2 in here. Number 3, Ashkenazi, is a horse who's worked 3 furlongs on the main at Keeland in bullet fashion by Hootenanny. The 7, Double Talker, has worked 3 furlongs in darn near bullet fashion, also by Hootenanny. So there's really not a lot to separate the 3 and the 7 in here. Maybe the one thing that kind of separated a little bit was Joel Rosario being named on the 3. He tends to ride more of the good ones for Wesley Ward in the mornings or in the afternoons for these 2-year-olds. So I took it as 3-7. Ashkenazi, Double Talker on top. Also threw the 8 in there, Baytown Dreamer, Paul McEntee. This one's got a decent gate work on the 29th of March. Same morning that the Ward horses worked, and worked at a very similar time. McEntee's won a couple of these, won a single race here in these 2-year-old ranks, 3 of the past 4 meets in the spring. So he knows how to get one to the winner's circle. You generally get a price. The outside post, not a bad deal there from the 8 hole. So I went 3, 7, 8. There's not a lot of creativity in here. We're all in the same kind of horses here. It's Wesley Ward one way or another. He'll get you. So Ward we've got with Ashkenazi in race number 1. Not going to spend too much more time on that. There isn't that kind of Todd Pletcher horse coming or another like big one, the B and Cone horse who came up from Florida. There doesn't appear to be some kind of behind-the-scenes 2-year-old we got to worry about in this one. So give it to Ward. Let's go to the second race on the card. It is a start of the pick 4, a non-winners of 2 lifetime. And second race on the card, again, second leg of the pick 5. It'll be the first leg of the early pick 4. This is a race where we've got some class droppers in here. The race is for a $20,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime. When I handicap non-winners of 2 lifetime, I'm looking for horses who have the best maiden win in the field, because they're all limited to having just one victory. If they had two, they wouldn't be eligible to run. So who has the best victory on paper? And as we look down through the past performances in this race, we got a full field of 12 in here, and some of the better maiden races in here. The 5 by long has won at a maiden special weight at Kentucky Downs, that being on the turf. We also see a maiden special weight at Turfway from Baytown Bruiser in here. No Joe is one at maiden special at Turfway, but I'm not so sure that like the maiden 50 level that number 1 Zeka Diabo has won at isn't a better race. The maiden 50s at Churchill are awfully tough, so that one's got a nice win. The maiden 50 at Churchill for the 4 on my honor. I think they stack up with the maiden special weights at Turfway. So to me, the best maiden wins in here are probably the turf race for the 5, and then the 1 and the 4 with those $50,000 races at Churchill Downs. So that's where I'm going to lean here in race number 2. Give it the top pick in here to number 4 on my honor. On my honor is a horse who's got decent form on the dirt. The races at Turfway recently were not good. We're trying to be forgiving there. But if you go back to the dirt form, this horse has 5 starts on the dirt, a win and a second, among those for Greg Foley. Luis Saez named to ride. I don't know if we're going to have Luis Saez back riding. He was out today. Of course, he was dropped in a spill in race 2 on Tuesday. Try to keep my day straight. He was injured Tuesday, out today on Wednesday. We'll see if he's back on Thursday. Not supposed to be a serious injury for Luis Saez, but banged up pretty good. So, maybe he'll take a couple more days. We'll see. But maybe he'll get back for Friday, certainly, when we've got grade 1 company. But Luis Saez named on number 4 on my honor there for Greg Foley. A very tepid pick for me. I do not have confidence in this race. On my honor, also the top pick in here for Kim Nelson. But Metalhead gets a top choice. Fazenda the 11. Jimmy the Hat the 6. So you see 5 handicappers with 4 different horses on top in here. Not a race to be ultimately that confident in. If you're playing a pick 4 and you're starting this race, I think you might as well take a pick 5 and start in the opener and take Ashkenazi as a short price favorite. You'll get a better payoff in the pick 5 than you will in the 4, even if the horse in the first race is 2 to 5. It's going to be a better play. So I would assume the risk in race number 1 with Ashkenazi being the 1, and then go ahead and start the pick 4 here by going deep in this race. I think you want to use multiple runners. 4, 9, 5, 10, 1, all horses I think that are worthy to kind of look into the mix in this particular spot. And that's not mentioning the 6 or the 11, which are top picks for Tom and Scott. So this is a spread deep race here. Not a lot of confidence in race number 2. Thankfully, it's not part of the pick 6, but if you are going to play that early pick 5, you better have some stronger opinions somewhere around it, or have a stronger opinion in this race than I do. But I do not have a strong feel for race number 2 at all. We'll kind of feel our way around it and try to get through it. Fortunately, we're looking for stronger opinions, and we have key plays in races 3 and 5. So we can spread in race number 2 and still attack a pick 4. We can spread in race number 2 and still attack a pick 5. Key play first of the day comes up for me in race number 3. It'll be the 3 in here. Bourbon Breeze. Bourbon Breeze gets blinkers on for trainer Rudy Brisset, fresh off the claim. This is a horse who's got a win over the track here at Keeneland. Back in the 2023 fall meet, this horse debuted a 6 furlong maiden special weight winner at the 6 furlong distance. So back to 6 furlongs over a track in which she's run well before. She's by Omaha Beach, a sire who does extremely well with the offspring here at Keeneland. Looking at the numbers coming into this meet, Omaha Beach was 7 for 29 with 14 of 29 in the exacta for his offspring. So really good numbers. 24% wins, a 13% flat bet profit. Omaha Beach already has at least one winner at the meet right now that I can think of off the top of my head. So Bourbon Breeze, the top play in here for me. Flavian Pratt for Rudolph Brisset. We're going with the French connection here. That'll be my top choice. And my first key play of the day coming up in race number 3, the 3, Bourbon Breeze. I believe 3 to 1 on the morning line as well. Seems like a 2-horse race according to the public handicappers. We got the full house here. 6s over 3s. We got 3 with the 6-horse Believer, and then Bourbon Breeze and myself and Kim Nelson go with Bourbon Breeze. So 6-3 seems like the 2 horses you got to beat in here. Believe Her, the question I have on this one is finishing the deal. I've kind of got a line in my past performances. When you look at the running lines across for a horse's running lines, second, fourth, and they finish fourth. Kind of you see consistently some horses just kind of hit a wall on that last call or two. It seems like that's what the case is with Believe Her until last time. She ran a good race last time and finally finished the deal after just kind of flattening out late in most of her other races. Now, I don't believe in her to come back and run another good race second off the layoff. Usually second off the layoff is where you want a horse to move forward. But I thought this horse regressed from the first start to the second. And so in the form cycle, when you talk about when these horses come back and run in the past, this horse has regressed first start to second start in the career debut. And then in the 2024 return, the second start was worse than the first one as well. Took a step back both in speed figures and expected performance. So I think Believe Her, the 6, might take a minor step back in this race. Not a big step back. I think she's still got a big chance to hit the board in here, but I wouldn't take her as the favorite in here. That's why I like Bourbon Breeze so much. I'm expecting a little regression out of the 6, and Bourbon Breeze has run well over this track in the past. First time on a barn move here, going from 15% trainer to a 16% trainer, so I don't see any kind of big move up or move down. I think you're going to hold the form nicely with number 3, Bourbon Breeze, through the trainer change. And then you get Flavian Pratt aboard. So I think that's a major plus in there. So let's go with number 3, Bourbon Breeze, our top pick in race number 3. That being our first key play on this card. That's not part of the pick 6 yet, though. Pick 6 races on a 9-race card begin with that $45,904 carryover. And it begins right here in race number 4. We get to the start of the pick 6. And I don't look at this pick 6 and say there's, just some obvious 2 to 5 kind of favorites lining up in this pick 6 sequence. I don't see that as we look up and down the line. In fact, let's just look at the selections here from the handicapper selectors box here. In race number 4, down. If you look at race number 4, 4, 10, 6, 7, 7. You look at race number 5, the 7 Smart Mo might be as close to a short price as we're going to see on the card. The rest of the races, 6th race has got multiple horses picked on top. 7th race has 3 different horses picked on top in there. So, or 2 different horses picked on top. The 8th race has got a couple different ones picked on top. There's not just that everybody across the line kind of 3 to 5 shots. So I think this is a pick 6. It's going to take a little bit of work, and that'll make it pay nicely. $1 minimum in the pick 6 here at Keeland. So keep that in mind. Let's talk now about that 4th race. Look, I've got a lot of numbers at the top of my page. 6, 2, 10, 9, 14, 4. All horses that I want to consider, depending on how many stay in the field. This is a 5.5 furlong turf sprint. Now, the rails are out because we've got a field of 10 in here, not 12. So not quite the tight, compact field we see in those 12-horse fields. 10, there'll be a little bit more breathing room in this spot, even with the rail out. I think number 6, Bright Skittle's the top choice for me. Nobody else taking Bright Skittle here on top. Tom's got that runner 3rd, so I'm a bit on an island here with this one, but I like the handicapping angle. It's one that almost popped for us earlier this week. The days are hard to keep track of, but I think it might have been Tuesday. We had the Mott horse coming back off the layoff, the LTB angle, if you remember me talking about that. Layoff, turn back, bullets in the morning. So Horses Fresh has been laid off for some time. Usually when they've been laid off for a while, they come back firing right out of the gate, and they're kind of ready to go. Fresh horses as you hear about it. Turning back in distance, running shorter than they're used to. So they don't need to be quite as fit. Usually a mile, and now they're running 6 furlongs. And then bullets in the morning show you that you're going to get that sharpness. That's what we've got with number 6, Bright Skittle. Laying off, hasn't run since July 7th of last year. Turning back in distance, this horse won a turf mile the last time we saw him. Going back to 5.5 furlongs here in a turf sprint. And Bullets fired the bullet workout at Payson Park last time on March 30th for Bill Mott, a trainer who doesn't ask for a lot out of them in the morning. So I think he's going to get a good run. Bright Skittle gets Lasix and blinkers also for the first time. So a little bit of the kitchen sink going on here. LTB angle and the blinkers on, Lasix. You move to Flavian Pratt here. He rode this horse at Keeland to a good 3rd place finish in the debut. Has already run over this course. I like Bright Skittle in here. I'm surprised some others didn't have this horse kind of anywhere in their top 3. There are some other good options, though, as I mentioned. 6, 2, 10, 9, 14, 4. I've got a lot of horses in here that I'm keeping under consideration, but Bright Skittle could be a nice price play in here. So that's the way I'm going to start the pick 6. The 2 Bravely's a first-time starter. I typically don't like the first-time starters in these particular spots, but I have a lot of respect for trainer Arnaud Delacour with his turf sprinters. I think he is an excellent turf sprint trainer, one of the best in the country. So if Bravely's here at Keeneland to debut, Not a bad draw in the 2 hole with the 10-horse field. If you had 12, I'd be a little more worried about the 1 and the 2. But with 10, I think there'll be enough breathing room to get a decent trip there under Machado. I think Bravely's got a shot in here as well. Let's look at some of the other selections that the handicappers have posted up here in race number 4. The 10 Beer Run, I mentioned that one, 6, 2, and 10. Beer Run's another one coming off a layoff. This is Wesley Ward, outside draw, and it's just been knocking on the door, right? 5 times out of 7 starts, running second or third. Never runs bad, just doesn't quite finish the deal. We'll see off the layoff if this 5-year-old maiden can finally get over the top. But Beer Run, hard to take a short price on, I think, as a 5-year-old maiden. The August layoff for Ward. This horse has had multiple layoffs over time and hasn't won coming off the bench, but hasn't run bad off the bench. Ran here in the spring of last year, ran second beaten 2, but it was a beaten favorite that day. Ran third in the career debut here at Keeneland, going 5.5 on the turf. So Beer Run should be expected to make a representative effort, but I'm not so sure that this is a horse that I put on top. I've got him picked third because that's kind of where I expect him to run, but one you definitely want to consider. The 9 Insubordination, another one coming off a layoff. George Weaver, excellent turf sprint trainer here as well. With John Velasquez named the right, Insubordination could certainly be a factor in this one. Keep an eye on the also eligibles. The 14 Gearing Up, Son of Bravazzo for Rusty Arnold, another good turf sprint trainer. So keep your eye on some of these barns that kind of aim for these sort of races. You know, Rusty Arnold, Arnold Delacour, George Weaver. These are guys who are trying to run their best turf sprinters at Keeneland, and they're all kind of in this race. The gang's all here. So you can see why this is a spread kind of race in here, but I do like the 6 Bright Skittle a decent amount here. Hopefully we can get a fair price on that one based on the other handicappers not using Bright Skittle hardly at all. I do see Kim's got Bright Skittle in there second as well. I thought just one other, Tom had him in there. So let's see if we can't get a decent fair price in there. But in terms of the pick 4, pick 5, I think you can spread a little bit in there. Because I think you got a single in the first, you got a single in the third, and I think you've got a single in the 5th as well in Smart Mo. Smart Mo is going to be my second key play of the day in race number 5. This starts the late pick 5. Again, this is part of the pick 6. It's part of the early pick 5, the early pick 4. Key race on the card, and when you have a horse you like in one of the key races on the program, a swing race like this, I think you want to get out there and send it in. Smart Mo, top choice in here. Trainer Peter Urton on a class drop. California-based trainers brought some horses to Kentucky this year. He had one pop on the card today. Again, second drop, that kind of thing like that. This horse has been running against Tougher in Southern California. They went to Fairgrounds, then brought him up to Turfway Park. Didn't run great on the synthetic, showed a little bit of speed over a mile. I think the horse will be forwardly placed in here under Pratt. I like Smart Mo quite a bit in race number 5. One of my key plays on the program. And say it was a good win for the Urton barn on Wednesday with a horse who looked very similar to this. And you get Pratt to ride. So a lot to like about the 7 in here, Smart Mo. Other handicappers are kind of leaning in that same direction here. Smart Mo also the top pick for Gabby and Scott. The 1 horse Indy charges on, and the 11 Golden Ice are going to be the top picks in here for Tom and Kim. As for underneath, keep an eye on the also eligible list here. It's not going to be a good post draw for the 13. Hope Joe's right if this one draws in. But solid form at Turfway. This horse has also run on the main track and run pretty well in the past at Churchill Downs. Didn't mention anything about the weather at this point, and I'm sorry about that, but there is a chance of some rain, a really good chance of some rain. Early morning hours. If you're a trainer, it's the morning. If you're the rest of us, it's while you're sleeping. But they say the rain's going to hit mostly around 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. So during training hours, I think we're going to look at an off track for training probably at Keeland on Saturday. We'll see what it's like the rest of the day. Not supposed to continue raining throughout the day, though. So track may dry out. Maybe we get something that's a little sticky, like a good track, or maybe slightly muddy. We'll see whenever they can kind of open it up and harrow it at what point in the day. But they may seal it in the morning during training hours and then kind of let the water stay on top and then try to open it up right before the races. We'll get you updated on changes tomorrow morning. Be sure to sign up for my Substack, and I'll give you the morning update there. If you haven't signed up for the Substack yet, be sure to do so. Free handicapping information sent to your email inbox directly. Just go to jeremyplonk.substack.com, and I'll update you with news each morning before the races at Keeneland, my updated picks after scratches come out. That Substack's been dropping about 11 a.m., 11:30 for the 1 o'clock cards because scratches are coming up at around 11. Get a chance to look at the scratches scratches, reevaluate a few things, and then we push out our final picks there in the morning. So be sure to check that out. And if, again, we get any information on track conditions and track maintenance, we would include that there as well on X. If you want to follow me on X at Horseplayer Now, as you see at the bottom of the screen there, and also Keeneland Racing will certainly update you on the track conditions. So we'll keep an open mind there for race number 5, but there are a couple horses in there that I think if it's an off track, like the outside runner, Hope Joe's right. Really, the race on the main track that was a pretty decent one was on a sloppy track. And so if it comes up wet, I'm kind of excited to get a shot for that horse to draw into the field. And that would be my key underneath. But 7's definitely my top play in there, Smart Mo. And then I'd use the 13, Hope Joe's right, second and third in the exotics, trying to catch a try, probably something along the lines of 7 all 13 and 7 13 all would be the way I want to play it. But we got to get the 13 into the field first in order to go after that. Number 8, Wiz Tucky's going to be a favorite here in race number 5. This horse is fast and making a class drop, but I'm not sure this horse wants to run this far. So I've got a real question mark. Even though it was a maiden special weight winner at Gulfstream Park, we have a maiden special weight winner at Santa Anita and Smart Mo. Those are the 2 best maiden wins in this non-winners of 2 lifetime. The 7 and the 8, clearly. I just don't know if the 8 can go that far, and I'm expecting that one to back up. And if that's the case, then I think Smart Mo mows him down here, and that's the top play for me. So that's why it's a key play on the day, because I don't even think the horse is going to be favored. I think the 8's going to be favored, and I don't think the 8's going to get the trip and see it out. So that's the strategy there as we approach race number 5. Let's move along here on the card to the 6th race on the program. Late pick 4 is going to start here. Races 6 through 9, the final 4 on the program. The final pick 4 offered on Thursday. Starter Allowance Company in this one in race number 6, a mile and a 16th on the main track. We've had 19 starter allowance route races in the spring on the dirt. Favorites are 5 for 19. So, they underperform a little bit in there. And we've got 5 favorites winning at 6-1 or more. So some of these starter allowance routes have been pretty good betting races. We'll see if we can get another one here in race number 6. As for the handicappers here to start off the late pick 4, we've got the 5 Ministerial as the top choice by the guys on the left. I've got the 3 Redemption Time, a bit of an island there. Only Gabby mentions the 3. She's also got Rosette on top and Django, the top pick in here for Kim Nelson. So 5 different handicappers, 4 different horses picked on top. And I've got one. It's pretty much putting me on the island with Redemption Time. I like the draw for this one. Kent Sweezy, trainee, comes out of a 6-furlong race at Oaklawn. Now stretches out around 2 turns. Not wild about the 2 off-the-board finishes at Keeneland in the past. That was against slightly tougher company, though, when an allowance runner back in the day. So Redemption Time, a horse who came to Sweezy's barn from Brett Calhoun back in November and has run at Oaklawn a few times over the winter. There were good efforts going around 2 turns, a 3rd and a 4th place finish against classy sorts. Then last time cut back to too short of a trip, had a bad start, ran into some traffic trouble. Now you get Irad Ortiz and you're breaking from the 3-hole. Redemption Time to me drawn really well in this spot because I don't think the 2 It's My Blood is super quick and the 1 Desperate Proposal not fast. So I would expect the 3 Redemption Time to have a chance to maybe get over to the rail right out of the gate here and get a great trip into the first turn. Irad's pretty aggressive when he has this situation, and you look at the horses around him, this is not a particularly fast race in terms of pace. So I think the 3 Redemption Time can kind of save some ground, get in there, and be in this mix throughout. Horses that I like in here won't get that same kind of benefit of the inside trip probably, are the 10 Curlin's Gesture and the 11 Sweet Talk and Bourbon. Now, the 2 times Curlin's Gestures dropped in for a claiming tag. Remember, this is a starter allowance. So to run in here, you had to run for a claiming of 50 or less at some point. The one time this horse dropped in for 50,000 was a winner in claiming company. So fits the conditions really well. In fact, both times entered for a claiming tag, a winner, both of those efforts. A maiden 100,000 at Churchill in May of last year to break the maiden. So Curlin's Gestures got some class and fits the conditions of this race pretty well. Yes, he was 5th beaten 15 lengths last time, but just a touch. A horse who was in the Kentucky Derby, a horse who was in the Bluegrass, a horse who was a graded stakes caliber runner was in that allowance race on the comeback and won by 10. So he was in the mix with everybody else in allowance company at Fairgrounds last time. Just got beat by a horse who just, in most cases had no business running in a first level allowance race. He was eligible for the race, and that's why he was there, just a touch, but far classier than a first level allowance horse in almost all situations. So Curlin's Gesture comes out of a really good race. He's got to be respected in here. It's a tough post position. I'm surprised nobody else has the 10 in the mix here because I actually think his form's really good in here. he would be certainly my top pick in here with a better post draw. But Redemption Time has the great draw. I don't think there's going to be speed from the 1 and the 2. So I think Redemption Time is going to get a great trip. 3 and 10 here are the two I really like. The 11 Sweet Talking Bourbon for a Sharita Vo barn that's really struggling right now. You talk about some barns that are off to a good start. Eddie Keneally's had a pretty good start. Brendan Walsh has had a good start. Mark Cassie, Brad Cox. But then you put you flip the coin around. And Sharita Vo, for as good a year as she had last year at Keeneland, I think she won 26%. We've been quoting those stats here in the first several days of the handicapping. She's like 0 for 10 now, or something like that, 0 for 11 through the first 4 days of the meet. And she's had some shorter price horses not delivering for her right now. So Sharita Vo's got the 11. You got Jose Ortiz, DeVoe, but you got a terrible post position in a barn that's not going great right now. So while I think Sweet Talking Bourbon fits in this spot, my third choice in the race, I wouldn't be using this horse. I think you try to get through this race too deep. The 3 Redemption Time and the 10 horse in here, Curlin's Gesture. I'm going to be bold in here and go just 310 in the multi-race wagers. That said, the other public handicappers in here have got plenty of other options. Rousset, Django, Ministerial. So we're bucking the system a little bit in that respect. As for Ministerial, this is a horse who's run poor when fresh in the past. That's where, we're kind of looking at the same situation here. This horse was a fresh horse in February of 2024, 6-1 at Aqueduct in a 20,000 waiver claimer, ran 8th, beaten 14 lengths. Had a layoff and came back at Keeneland in the fall. 4th, beaten 5 lengths. This horse hasn't run his best races when completely fresh. Might want to be into the form cycle a little bit more. So Ministerial is one I'm going to take a shot against in here, where the other handicappers are on this Wesley Ward trainee, but is a winner over the track, and that never hurts to have a win here at Keeneland. That came at a mile and a 16th back in the 23 spring meet. This is a 6-year-old who's only run 13 times, but does have 4 wins. So nothing wrong with the ledger for Ministerial, but this isn't a horse who's been firing fresh. And the older they get, taking them fresh off a long layoff, 6 years old, that becomes a little bit more of a challenge. So we'll see if Wesley Ward can have Ministerial ready to go. Some of the gang thinks they will, and Tom Leach and Scott Hazelton have that one on top. Let's go to the 7th race next up here on the program tonight. 7th race on the Thursday card. No new wagers starting in here. You'll have your final pick 3 on the card offered up here. Only 2 turf races again on the program for Thursday. Only 2 turf races were carded, so no Keeneland turf pick 3. We'll get back to having a Keeneland turf pick 3 on Friday, and of course that'll be a big turf pick 3 with the Maker's Mark Mile, the feature race on Friday. So no turf pick 3 on Thursday, but one of our allowance co-features comes up next in race number 7. Let's talk about that one. It's a first level mile in the 16th race in here. And number 4, Save Time, I think one you want to keep your eye on here. Safi Joseph trains. This one takes a drop in class. Grade 3 Hurricane Birdie Stakes last time out at Gulfstream. Ran into a buzzsaw. Nick's style is really, really good. So don't worry about that 5th place finish, beating 7 in there. That's a much tougher effort, a much tougher spot than this horse will face here today. Safi Joseph's runners haven't been great at Keeneland over the years, that's for sure. They're certainly better at home at Gulfstream. He gets Irad Ortiz to ride, but this horse, Save Time, has been to Keeneland in the past and ran a decent second. So, but it was as the 6-5 favorite. So, you look at that race back in October and you say, was that disappointing or was that positive to run second over the track at Keeneland? When you get beat at 6-5, maybe it's, not the best sign, but the horse has been all around it. Save Time's got 7 of 10 in the money, 5 second place finishes. Not one you rely on fully, though, and hang your hat with those 5 second place finishes. Some horses just end up the bridesmaid more often than not. I like the 4 best in this field, but there are others in here to also consider. The 6, Into Amore, one I'm going to take a look at. Into Amore, trainer Todd Pletcher. This one comes off a 1-turn mile at Gulfstream when running a distant second, a second best kind of effort in there. Hasn't run bad in 3 career starts. Pletcher started this one off in December at Tampa Bay Downs. Didn't debut until December 11th of her 3-year-old year. So she was slow to get to the races. She hasn't been thrown to the wolves. And to this point, she gets a first level allowance race. It was going to be the toughest start of her career, but Into Amore, I think, certainly can fit with some of the others in here. Save Time, Into Amore, the top 2 choices for all the handicappers in here as you look across the way. The 2 Foreseen is a horse maybe to keep an eye on as well. A bad race last time out in the Royal Delta when overmatched at 90-1. But Foreseen's got a pretty good race on the resume here at Keeneland. Last October in allowance company, was a solid 3rd all the way around. Ended up beating 9 lengths in there, but Pignor won by 8. Chilled was a return winner. And we know Pinor has already come back this week to win impressively in Allowance Company, a real horse for course here at Keeneland. So Forcine's fourth place finish when chasing that, local semi-monster was pretty good. And then you go back to April of 24, second beaten 4 to a repeat winner, Neon Icon, in Allowance Company here. So Forcine's got 2 good races on the form here at Keeneland. I would use 4, 6, 2, and 7 Crazy Cammy one to consider, but I'm not going to use that one in the top spot. Maybe an underneath play for that one. Too many third place finishes, 6 there, 9 of 10 placings in the money have come in the second and third spots for Crazy Cammy. So 4, 6, and 2. I think you go 3 deep in the pick 6 in this particular spot. Forcine could be a nice separator there because it looks like everybody's kind of leaning towards Safi and Todd, and you can see why that happens. But the 2 Forcine's got 2 really nice races here at Keeland over this track, and horse per course matters a lot here, as you handicappers really know. Let's go to the 8th on the card, the Allowance co-feature here, 2 other than Allowance. My third key play on the card comes up here, 5.5 furlongs on the turf. Again, we're expecting some rain in the morning. I can't imagine that we're off the turf, so I'm going to expect that we'll be on the grass. And if we're on the grass and there's a little give to it, my top choice in here, Golden Hostess, should have no trouble with that. I like the foreign bred and the foreign raced horses. This South African filly, mare now at age 6. She ran some big races in South Africa, Group 1 company, and she's run on softer going over there. She's run well on firm. She's run okay on the soft stuff. And compared to the American horses in this race, the American-based horses in this race, there's not a lot of turf form if there's any give to the course at all. So if it rains a bunch in the morning, but they keep this race on the grass, Golden Hostess certainly would be in fair company there in terms of the footing. She will not despise it for sure. Foxy Cleopatra, I guess a fan of the Austin Powers series. Foxy Cleopatra out of the one Foxy Gray. The mare one Foxy Gray. A Munnings filly. Munnings has had a nice meet already with a couple wins on the main track. Foxy Cleopatra is a horse who won at Fairgrounds in the second start. Debuted a winner at Presque Isle. Then they brought him here for the class test in the Limestone Stakes last summer or last spring. And didn't run much there. Something went awry that day for trainer Larry Ravelli. We haven't seen this one back in a year. But he gets his main speed rider, Jareth Loveberry, aboard. You can expect Foxy Cleopatra is going to cook out of the gate. That's the Ravelli MO. That's Jareth Loveberry's MO, the jockey. So I expect we're going to see plenty of speed out of the 4. That's why I like the 6 Golden Hostess a little. I think there's plenty of speed in this race that can kind of come back. The 3's got some speed, High Fashion Kate. You're definitely going to have speed out of the 4, Foxy Cleopatra. Always wanting. The 7 wants to be out there. Some of the horses towards the outside, you got a little bit of pace out of Creed's Gold, and the outside horses have to go here in these turf sprints. So even if they don't show the form, like number 10, Zoe Lee's got a couple races where it was pressing up on the pace. Recently hasn't been. From an outside draw like that, they're almost going to have to try to go a little bit with Zoe Lee. So I think there'll be a fair pace in here for sure. Golden Hostess can come from off of it. This is another one where Luis Saez is named a ride. We don't have any updates on Saez as of the recording of our podcast here, our live going of our podcast here at 9:00 Eastern on Wednesday night. So we'll see tomorrow morning the status of Luis Saez. But if he's back, he's certainly a benefit in the saddle on the Grand Motion trainee. Golden Hostess. I'm going to go ahead and try to single in this spot with that runner. 6 and 4, my top 2 in there. The 2 Don't Say It is going to come from well off the pace as well. I think if it's set up for a closer like I think it will, then Golden Hostess is the one who I like most from well off the pace. So the 2 can close and get a share, but give me the 6 on top in here. If you want to go too deep in here, then you get kind of a speed closer combination. Foxy Cleopatra is going to show speed, and then you've got the closer. If I'm going to go too deep in a multi-race wager, talk a little strategy here for just a second. Whether you're playing a pick 3, a pick 4, pick 5, anything. If you're going to go too deep in a race, there's got to be a compelling reason to do it because it doubles the cost of your ticket and doesn't give you a lot more coverage, right? Say there's 10 horses in the race. You had 1 out of 10 with the horse you were singling. 2 out of 10 doesn't get you a lot of coverage. There's still 8 horses who can beat you, but it doubles the cost of the ticket because you're multiplying how many horses you use in each race. When you multiply by 1, you're only, you're keeping that same multiplier. When you multiply by 2, you're doubling the cost of the ticket. So you better really like the horse. If you're only going to use 2 horses in a race, 2 different running styles to me are the way to go. You don't want 2 speed horses because if the race doesn't set up for the one speed horse that you like, why would it set up for the other one? And if it doesn't set up for the closer that you like, why would it set up for another closer? So if you like a horse and you're going to go too deep, I like a front-running horse. Well, the way that horse gets beat is if everybody goes up and kind of bangs heads with him, right, and they tire, then he's probably going to get beat by a closer, not another speed horse. So if you're going to go too deep in a race, go with a speed horse and a closer. Try to get divergent running styles. So if you are going to go too deep in this particular race, in the real world example here, Golden Hostess is a closer going to be coming from off the pace in this particular spot. If I'm going to pair that one up with another, I wouldn't pair up with Don't Say It, another deep closer for Brad Cox. I would take the 4, Foxy Cleopatra, who's going to show speed for Larry Ravelli. That way, if some of the other speed horses don't get out of the gate and the 4 pops, maybe they get the easy trip and the 6 can't get there. But if somebody goes with the 4 and they all melt it down, that's what we're looking for. Then our top pick, the 6 Golden Hostess, will get the great pace set up there. So if you're going too deep, try to resist too deep on bets as much as you can, because you're not really helping your chances of winning by the amount of money more you're spending. It's not a good value play to go too deep unless you just have a situation where you say, it's one or the other, and I can't separate them. So in this particular spot, I would not go too deep. I would just single the 6 in here and put my eggs in that basket. That's the way we'll play it in race number 8, our third and final key play onto the card. Let's go to the 9th and final. Remind you that we've got $88,162 in the Toyota Super High 5 carryover. Maiden claimers, $50,000 level here, going 7/8 of a mile in the nightcap. And in this final race on the program, we've got Army Hero picked on top by a couple handicappers. Silver Ore on top for me. The 13 Momentum Files off of the also eligible list for Tom. And Scott's going to start things off with 40 Love. So 5 handicappers, 4 different horses picked on top. This certainly isn't the kind of race everybody's knuckling down on the same type horses for. So I'm going to take a shot in here with a horse out of the Turfway ranks. I like the Turfway horses in these maiden claiming sprints, and I think the 9 Silver Ore is going to fit pretty well in this spot. Doug Cowan's the trainer in here. Of course, we've known what he's done over the past couple of years with a couple good ones coming out of Turfway. He's got Luan Machado riding. Now, this is a horse who's got pretty good form. 3 starts. They're all decent for maiden specials. First time in for the tag. When this barn drops him like this, there's not a lot of starts to look at, but 2 for 5. And when he brings one to the dirt, 31% wins on the dirt for the Doug Cowan's barn. So give me the 9 Silver Ore as a, I don't know, like a 6 out of 10 in the confidence meter. Not a massive confident play, but like him well enough. The 12 Sequential, my other pick in here, the second choice for me by Nyquist. This is the Sire's got a flat bet profit, more than 20% winners here on the main track at Keeneland. You got to like the Nyquist over this track. First time gelding, hasn't run since June, and Chad Brown drops into a maiden claiming. You say, this sounds like a fire sale, Clairvich Stables. They're just unloading a horse that they bought for $335,000 for $50,000. While that may be true, Chad Brown wins 30% of the time when dropping from maiden special to maiden claiming. So he does this often, and his horses are still good enough to win. Somebody may claim Sequential out of this race. Post 12 is no picnic, though, from out there. So respect the connections. It's Irad and Chad. It's a Nyquist on the main track. If the horse wasn't by Nyquist, I'd probably take more of a stand against with the wide post and the suspicious class drop. But Sequential one to consider in here. The 2 Spielman's a horse who usually gets a piece of it, but not necessarily one that I'd lean on to win. 13 career starts. Kind of more of a second, third underneath, secondary kind of horse. So not one I would use on top in terms of a pick 6. Pick 6 play, I would definitely use the 9 and 12. And then I consider maybe the 10, Geno Smith, as a potential pick 6 player. Another maiden special dropper from Turfway, a horse who's run on the dirt and run decently at Churchill. So while I've got the 2 pick 3rd in here, I think the 2 will do some decent running and get a share of it. Not the kind I'd bet to win. The other horse I'd probably use in here would be Geno Smith, the 10. If you're looking for more horses to add onto your potential pick 6 ticket. Army Hero, the 4, is a horse I'm not going to take a shot in here. This horse is turning back from a mile to 7/8. I prefer the, I don't know. I mean, his form's not that bad. You probably want to try to include this horse in your mix. I mean, when I kind of look at what I've got with Silver Ore, there's not a whole lot of difference there. I think we're going to get better value with Silver Ore. Frankie Dettori rides the 4 Silver Hero or Army Hero for Joe Sharp. If you're going to get deep in this race, you probably want to use a few more in here. The 10 we mentioned, not on my top 3. The 4th one you could certainly work into your mix in here. Peter Urton's got the 340 Love, a horse coming off a second at Colonial. Brad Cox had a Colonial horse today as a big favorite. Didn't run as well as expectations. Ended up running second. Don't know how good those Colonial races were. They were definitely fast because the track was just like the salt mines. So they put up big times there. I don't know how good 40 Love is. The race prior to that at Turfway was decent enough. They all kind of look a little bit alike in this race. So this is a race where you want to get some coverage. So look, you're almost forced, if you're playing a pick six, to kind of take some stands a few places. Smart Mo in the 5th for me, in the 8th, Golden Hostess. And then you're going to need some coverage in some of these other races. I do like Silver Ore, though. And maybe this is one of those where, you know, the expression you'll hear a lot when people are talking about their ticket construction, how they build their ticket, is single or spread. You'll hear people say that. This is a single or spread race, which is basically, if it's not the one I'm picking on top, it could be anybody. And then all of a sudden you're going from that factor of 1, multiplying how much it's going to cost, to, well, 2's not very comfortable. 3's not very comfortable. 4. Next thing you know, you're multiplying by 6 or 7, right? And then there's people who say, if you're 6 or 7 deep, you should use the all button because you really don't have any idea spreading that deep. So single or spread, I always recommend you go to the single angle. So, you know, talking through this pick six in real time with you all, and, you know, we're kind of doing this together here. And I don't know, maybe you just come back and take one you like in this race and just honker down and say, this is what I've got. And Silver Ore would be that for me. So maybe I just, you know, fish or cut bait, and I'm going to go ahead and fish with Silver Ore in the nightcap and keep the price of the ticket down. Look, if it's your day, it's your day. And if your picks are on, your picks are on. And pick six tickets, another thing, you know, strategy we like to throw in here on this podcast a lot, more so than just like follow me on who I like. Because as you can hear, you've heard me on some of the other podcasts earlier this week talk about races I loved. There weren't many races I loved on this card, right? This was a struggle for me to handicap. People say, like, how do you know you've got a card that you really love? It's how fast did it take you to handicap it? You know, like if stuff jumps off the page and you're just seeing it. You know, if you're a creative person, if you're a writer, a painter, or whatever, and you get into something, like when you're in a groove, you know it, right? And it just comes out. A musician, anybody like that. Even if you're working, you know, if you're an accountant, when you're cranking through tax returns, when you're in a groove, you're in a groove, and stuff just jumps off the page. This card was not that way for me. It was a bit of a struggle. So in terms of a pick six, I don't want to be putting together like a $200, $250 pick six ticket. There's a no man's land in pick sixville, and it's somewhere in that ballpark. You either take a really small ticket and take your shot, and either you have a really good handicapping day, or you really spread a lot. And that's why a lot of the big pick six players are syndicates and guys who pool their money and gals who pool their money together and play together, and, you know, and try to go after, you know, several $1,000s on a pick six ticket. There's not a, like, when we talk about, like, oh, you could be too deep in a race and feel like you don't have that much coverage. You spend $200 in a pick six, you really don't have that much coverage when you think about the math of how many potential combinations there are that can win these races. You know, they go through a multiply. There's 6 races. So if there's 10 in every race, just for instance, it will be 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, you know, 6 to the 10th. 10 to the 6th power are the total number of combinations that could come in, and you've got 200 of them. You know, so you're not that covered. Like, you're not as safe as you think when you spend that kind of money. And actually, you probably overspent your budget putting, you know, $150, $200, $250 in to a pick six. So it's not the greatest bet in the world. But when there is carryover money, it is worth pursuing. And of course, if we're looking at that Toyota Super High Five, we got a wide open race for that high five in the nightcap. You know, maybe we take the top pick in there, Silver Ore. We will take the top pick, Silver Ore, in there, and then spread with a bunch of horses underneath in the 2nd through 5 slots, trying to iron it down a little bit more. We talked about Spielman being a good, reliable closer, but not a horse that you would put on top. Spielman is a great horse for the Toyota Super High Five in the last race. You want to use him in that 3rd, 4th, 5th slots, you know? So maybe you take a horse on top like Silver Ore to win, and then you use Spielman in the 3rd slot, 4th slot, 5th slot in some different combinations, and spread in the other ones, and try to have like 2/3 or 2/5 of the ticket kind of locked down with quote unquote singles in 2 of the slots, and then spread in some of the other spots. The Toyota Super High Five might be a better bet on this card than the pick six, you know, if you can't iron out your opinions and get it knocked down a little bit more. I've got a couple I like in the pick six. Again, race number 5 to 7, race number 8 to 6. And we'll see how we can do with that. We'll get scratches and changes in the morning. We'll get an update on the weather. Hopefully that 4 a.m. rainstorm Doesn't affect training too much tomorrow with the horses going out on the track in the morning, but we'll get it updated for you, and we'll have all that on Substack for you tomorrow. Put that up one more time. If you want to check out Substack, it's free to sign up for. JeremyPlonk.substack.com. I'll send you about 11 a.m., 11:30, somewhere in that ballpark, an update for tomorrow's card. That wraps things up for Day 5's preview on Thursday. When we're back tomorrow night on the Keeneland Look Ahead podcast, 8:30 Eastern, we'll be previewing a big Friday card with Grade 1 Stakes Company. We're on the turf for the Maker's Mark Mile on Friday for the Grade 1 Turfers. Can't wait for that one. We'll preview it all tomorrow night. Have a great night, everybody.